Christmas for gamers has come and gone, leaving in its wake a ton of new announcements, a lot of new information on highly anticipated games, and incredible leaps forward for the hardware of video game consoles in our industry. E3 2017 gave us many memorable moments, and while there is certainly some stuff that we'd rather forget sooner than later, like there is at E3 every single year, there was also plenty of stuff that got us incredibly excited. From beautiful looking indie games to long awaited comebacks for fan favorite franchises, from crowd-pleasing remake reveals to full-fledged expansions that have, at the very least, caught our attention, from a number of major new game announcements to witnessing the next step forward in the technology of console gaming, there is just so much this year that, once you've dug through all the deadweight and the boring stuff, will surely leave you giddy as a child. There were, however, 10 games shown across all conferences at E3 this year that stood out above all the others. 10 among hundreds that we've heard, looked at, and by the time we were done, just couldn't wait to get our hands on, more than anything else we saw. The team at Gaming Bolt took a vote, with each of us listing our personal top 10 video games from E3 2017, and after tallying, we arrived at the final 10, which we present to you here in this list. Keep in mind, of course, that we're only going to talk about games that we saw a substantial amount of. As such, don't expect to see games that only received mere teaser trailers, such as Metroid Prime 4, or games that were formally confirmed to be in development but otherwise got no other information, such as the new Pokemon RPG for the Nintendo Switch. Another important thing we considered while voting for entries was whether or not we saw much of actual gameplay footage rather than just a trailer. So with a heavy heart, we had to omit some awesome looking games like God of War, Shadow of the Colossus, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Wolfenstein 2, and a few others. While all these games and others like them might have been major showings and announcements that had us jumping up and down in our seats and furiously pumping the air with our fists, at the end of the day, we just didn't see or hear enough of these games to be able to include them in this list while also being fair to all the other potential entries. Now with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Number 10. A Way Out. A Way Out was announced during the EA panel, and while on paper it is a small indie game developed by a team that is led by the creator of the incredible brothers at Tale of Two Sons, it actually turned out to be one of the best things we saw at E3 this year. A Way Out looks to be brimming with potential on all fronts, promising a captivating co-op experience with unique and smart gameplay elements, and which will, most of all, respect the value of a local co-op experience. It will follow the story of two convicts whose primary mission is to break out of jail, and then to successfully stay on the run from the authorities. As if it wasn't enough that all of this just sounds very awesome even in the first instance, the fact that the game seems to be doing everything it does with so much heart and personality is bound to win you over. Number 9. Forza Motorsport 7. The larger Forza franchise has almost become the undisputed king of racing at this point, with both Motorsport and Horizon being significantly ahead of the competition in their respective subgenres. Forza Motorsport 7 looks like it will not only cement the series' place on the throne of the racing genre, but will also make that crown on top of its head so much more imposing. While it most definitely includes all the stuff that makes for a classic, authentic Forza experience, much more of it in fact, what is bound to catch the eyes of everyone is just how gorgeous the game looks. And when a game stands out in terms of visuals in a series like Forza, which always teeters on the edge of photorealism, you just know it's going to look drop dead amazing. Number 8. Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Everyone was ready to simply brush this game aside, working on the assumption that it was going to be an unambitious, mundane crossover that is merely trying to cash in on two big video game brands. But in one of the most pleasant surprises of E3 2017, Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle actually startled a lot of people with just how vibrant and enjoyable it looked. Its tactical, turn-based XCOM-style battle system looks great, and from what we've seen of the game, it looks like it's actually going to be deeper than you might think. And of course it has that goofy, charming quality to it that you would expect from this kind of game. All in all, quite a wonderful surprise. Number 7. Days Gone. When Days Gone was first unveiled at last year's E3, the common consensus was, sure, it looks pretty cool, but where's the hook? What's selling us on this game? Is it just another post-apocalyptic open-world experience? Don't we have enough of those? We could safely say though that after the extended, more in-depth look we got of Sony Bend's upcoming title, most of those questions and doubts were allayed. Days Gone promises to have a huge, dangerous open world that will be as beautiful as it will be dynamic. The developer has emphasized over and over again that there's a lot of different moving parts in the machinery of this game's world, and it all exists separately from you, the player. As it stands right now, we're sold on Days Gone, and we're hoping that Ben will keep working on removing the few question marks that still remain over it in terms of originality. Number 6. Assassin's Creed Origins. The Assassin's Creed series has been in desperate need of a reinvention for some time, even more so after the absolute mess that was Unity, and Syndicate, which was actually really good, but still showed that the series formula has maybe been used one too many times without much variation. The plethora of leaks on Assassin's Creed Origins days and weeks before it was even announced meant that we already knew a great deal about it, so not much of what we saw at E3 was really surprising. But it was damn good. Origins looks to be a much bigger, much more ambitious, and much more nuanced take on this long-running series, providing a deeply interactive open-world experience that takes cues from the likes of The Witcher 3. As things stand right now, it definitely looks like Origins is the breath of fresh air that this series has needed for a long time. Number 5. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Going to E3 2017, Battlefront 2 was one of the most talked about games, one of those games that people just couldn't wait to see more of. The promise of a bigger, better multiplayer component, as well as a proper single-player campaign that would be canon to the official Star Wars lore, was one that made us all salivate, and thankfully enough, what EA showed off of the game, and that showed a lot, didn't disappoint. EA's press event itself may not have been the best we've ever seen, to put it very mildly, but it looks like Battlefront 2 will be delivering in all the ways that we expect it to. An expanded, more ambitious take on the multiplayer that was built so well in the previous game, as well as a single-player campaign that doesn't just half-ass it. It's a mouth-watering prospect, similar to the transition we saw from Respawn's Titanfall to Titanfall 2 last year in so many ways. Number 4. Metro Exodus. Everyone mostly expected the majority of Microsoft's E3 event to be nothing but them talking about Scorpio, now known as the Xbox One X. But what really surprised us was how much of their focus, instead, was on games. And sure, a lot of them didn't look very impressive, but by that same token, a lot of them did. And the game that impressed us more than most others was Metro Exodus, which promises to be an ambitious and exciting step forward for the series that has developed such a dedicated cult fanbase. Mixing the tense, claustrophobic, and panic-inducing sequences that the series is known for with areas that give players more opportunities to explore and survive out in an open environment sounds like an excellent idea, and one that will surely do wonders for the Metro franchise. Number 3. Anthem. Of course, there was one game that came from the Microsoft press event that had us even more rapidly captivated than even Metro Exodus could manage. We've been waiting to hear about the new IP that BioWare had been working on for a long time now, and when we finally saw it in action and saw what it was and what it was attempting to do, it blew our minds. It was of course officially announced earlier at the EA conference, but it was during the final minutes of the Microsoft event that we really saw the game in all of its glory. The world of Anthem looks beautiful, and one that will beg players to explore its alluring yet dangerous wilds. And if BioWare actually live up to their promise of providing an interactive shared world experience to rival the likes of Destiny that also has the kind of strong narrative and character development we've come to expect from that, this should be one hell of a game. Number 2. Spider-Man. Insomniac's Spider-Man was the closer for Sony's show this year, and they really couldn't have chosen a better title to end their conference with. We hadn't seen much or anything of the game since its announcement last year, so the gameplay reveal was long in the making, and what we got lived up to our expectations and then some. It looked exactly like what an ideal Spider-Man game should be. Loads of fun web-slinging, fluid and dynamic combat, and a full open-world city, not to mention that iconic sense of wit, charm, and humor. Spider-Man looks set to be for its series what Arkham Asylum was for Batman video games. Admittedly, a tough standard to follow, but one we feel Spider-Man will manage with great aplomb. Number 1. Super Mario Odyssey. You probably knew this was coming. What you could not have known, what no one could have known, was just how unbelievably incredible Super Mario Odyssey's E3 showing would be. Representing Nintendo at their unhinged, deranged, most creative, craziest best, Odyssey looks to be a barrage of incredible, imaginative levels and fantastic mechanics all packed together in the most stylish and frankly surreal package that the Mario series has ever seen. You can possess enemies, possess dinosaurs, possess inanimate objects such as a car, even possess other humans. Depending on the stage, you can switch from 2D side-scrolling to full-fledged 3D exploration and platforming. You could jump on your hat to cover vast distances, you could travel through time and space, and you explore this new world that is dense, packed, bustling with secrets around literally every corner that invitingly beckons you to dig deeper. Super Mario Odyssey looks like Nintendo at their absolute peak, and it's just a small chunk of the game that has us gushing over it this way. The thought of what the full game will be when it launches in October is by itself enough to drive us insane. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.